Good morning, everyone. I'm going to open this meeting for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. All commissioners are present. Announcements, there's $5. Announcements are on the agendas. Extra copies are on the table. And first item up is for comments for items not on the agenda. Any takers? Okay, pretty quiet out there today. Glad to see you all made it through the windstorm, mini tornadoes, whatever. No trees across your house.
No trees down, but no power for quite some time.
But it's back.
Revved up the old generator and
Same.
plugged in the freezer and the fridge.
Still?
God, thank you, Jesus.
No power, but Consumers Power crew, they're the best. Came turn me back on before it was time to get up this morning. So it was perfect. Stuff around the house all strewn around, like a little tornado dropped in, blew it up and then left. Yeah, you're the one that,
We have
Valerie.
power. Salem Electric, I'm gonna say
I've
is the best.
seen some of that.
I'd second that one. They're amazing.
You got trees everywhere, but you have a groomer, right? Tree groomer, so.
Thankfully, he has pruned most of the trees, especially around the house,
Yeah.
so we didn't have a lot of breakage.
Let the record show that Chris Patuan is good for something.
That oak table is amazing.
Thank you.
Or is it maybe it's oak? Yeah. I don't know if
Did it on social media.
he takes orders, but you know,
Get in line.
I know. Family
Good line.
first.
All right, moving on. First up, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, passed unanimously. Approval of the minutes from December 10th.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, passed unanimously. Approval of consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, passed unanimously. Treasurer's monthly report. Well, let me open that up. Indicating here that we have October and November sent to us this week via email. For the record, the treasurer is not here. We have not seen the treasurer in several months. So I need to make certain that I continue to report to the public. The guy who expects to do so many jobs can't show up at a meeting. So any questions about the reports or comments?
That was
Okay, so noted. Nothing we have to do with that. Assessor update. Now is your time. Good morning.
Good morning. Just push the little down. Okay. All right. Well, good morning. Thank you for having me today. I'm just going to start with, we just came off of tax season, so I'm going to give a little bit of an overview over the work that we just did in our office. So as you can see on the graph, Polk County RMV has, over the last couple of years, I don't want to say flatlined, but it's hasn't grown as significantly as it has over the past 10 years. So in the last 2 years, we had on average a 2% growth in market value, but the prior, from 2016 to 2023, on average, it grew 11%. So the market is slowing. But the assessed value continues to grow at 3% every year, thanks to Measure 50. So from 2016 to 2023, the average assessed value increase is 5%. In the last 2 years, we're averaging about 4%. Taxes are steadily increasing. Most of the movement that we see here is with voter-approved levy and bonds that impact tax collection, permits for new construction and recorded land use changes, such as partition plats and subdivisions, ebbs and flows, but with a 3% assessed value and continued new construction, it's pretty consistent increase. From 2016 to 2023, we see on average a 5% increase each year. In the last 2 years, it's 4%, so pretty consistent. I wanted to give you a little bit of information about the tax roll that you may or may not know. But the tax roll is made up of 4 different tax rolls. The real roll, the business personal property roll, manufactured structures, and utility roll. The real roll would consist of residential, commercial, industrial, rural tract, farm and forest, and apartments. Business personal property is property that is not affixed to or part of real estate and is used for operation of the business, such as furniture, fixtures, machinery, and equipment, etc. It may include property that may not be currently in use, but is still in possession of the business. Manufactured structures includes real and personal manufactured structures. It excludes exempt. They're part of the real tax rate. And then finally, the utility roll is appraised by the state, and it includes electric companies, gas companies, phone companies, cable, railroad, and solar companies, to name a few. Yes.
Not to get down a rabbit hole, but just for the record, what are the exemptions on business personal property?
The exemptions of
Yeah,
business.
so are there types of business personal property that might be exempt from this or that may have some sort of deferral?
If they are participating in an enterprise zone and they meet a certain threshold of cost, then they can be exempt. But typically, all business personal property is taxed. The threshold of not being assessed is established by the state each year, and I don't remember what that year is or what that number is, but it's around 21,500, I think, for the last couple of years. So if their business value is under 21,500-ish or 22, then they don't pay taxes, but they're still required to report.
Ag and forestry, no exemptions?
For farm properties,
Well, equipment.
equipment,
what
yeah,
would
so
normally qualify?
farm machinery and equipment is exempt by statute.
And forestry?
That I'm not entirely sure. I want
I
to,
wasn't trying to catch you on anything. I just was curious, just for the record, that there are exemptions.
there are, and I believe there are some forestry ones as well. I just don't know them on the top of my head.
Thank you.
To give you an idea of where our value comes from in Polk County, out of our 17.6 billion in real market value, 17 billion of it comes from the real tax roll. And 104 million comes from business personal property. 150 million comes from manufactured structures, and 306 million comes from the utility roll. Any questions? This is an allocation pie chart just to give you an idea of a visual impact. And this includes all property types. So the residential makes up 58% of our tax roll. Farm makes up around 9%, rural tract about 8.5%. Commercial industrial is 7.35%. Multifamily apartments is 5%. Forest is 5%. And state industrial is less than 1%. And that is all the real tax roll, property tax roll. And then the utilities is popped out a little bit from there, and that's the utility roll at 3.5%, business personal property at 1.26%, and manufactured structures at less than 1%. And that's the allocation of the 133.8 million in taxes. Wanted to give you a snapshot of per WVMLS, the average residential sales price in Polk County is currently for 2025 at $517,000. This is up from 8% from 2024. But a significant increase in the last 5 years. In 2020, the average sales price was $352,000. The top 10 taxpayers in Polk County. The number 1 is Northwest Natural Gas Company. Number 2 is Orchard Heights Apartments. And I wanted to draw your attention to the items highlighted in red. Those are utility companies, and utility companies make up 19% of the top 10. And apartments come in next at 13%. Homes for the elderly, which is Capital Manor, is 4%, and Weyerhaeuser is 3%, and Maduri Farms is number 10 at 2%. It's a rural industrial property. So a side note is that utility and apartments, utility is, if we go back to the previous slide, utility roll is 3.5% of our entire tax roll. But yet, utility is the number 1 taxpayer in Polk County. Office updates. We hired a new appraiser. We hired Jeff Tracy. He has lots of experience from other counties and fits in well with our office. We promoted Becky, who started out in our front office, processing business personal property claims, to now she is our commercial and data analyst, doing a fabulous job. We hired Logan Kumnick as our temporary scanner. Our project for over the next few years is to go digital with our property packets, and we're doing that on a part-time basis. And he is working hard to get those jackets scanned along with a couple of our other staff in their downtime. We have 111 file drawers that need to be scanned. In July, we had completed 5 drawers over the prior year by a couple of staff on a very part-time basis. And as of November, in the 3 months that Logan had been working for us, we've completed 5 additional drawers. So we're making good progress. I wanted to talk about one new exemption that we are processing for this year. It's called the vertical housing zone, and it's in Independence. The exemption excludes the land and is for the improvement only. The City of Independence certifies to the county the amount of the exemption based on a calculation identified in rule. The county values the property and applies the partial exemption to the improvement only. This exemption is complicated due to Polk Fire number 1 opting out. That means I still have to collect taxes on the exempt portion of the property for Polk Fire number 1. And we're actively working with our vendor to accomplish this. It's a work in progress. It's complex and complicated and requires some programming and has some unique challenges. So fortunately, there's only one account that's taking part in this, but I am sure it's the first of others. So we need to figure it out. What's next? So we're doing ongoing appraisal training with our new staff and promoted staff. We're digitizing our appraisal jackets. We just completed our annual studies to set our new beginning year values, and we've begun our maintenance work, picking up new single-family dwellings, additions, remodels, and commercial rebuilds. Per statute, we have to value all the property in the county as of January 1st. We've been processing requests for review. This is an informal review process that the appraisers do for the taxpayers when they question their values. To date, we've processed 14 of those, and we have one PVAB, formerly known as BOC, to date. They have until December 31st to file an appeal.
And can you explain or announce what those abbreviations are for?
PVAB, Property Value Appeals Board, is what that stands for. It used to stand for BOPTA, Board of Property Tax Appeals. But to be more clear on what the public can appeal, they thought clarifying the name would help. So PVAB is Property Values Appeal Board, so you can appeal your values, not your taxes. What is our policy for visiting properties? Other known as trespassing. So I thought I'd touch on that a little bit. For new construction, reappraisal, sales reviews, whatever the task may be, we typically don't make appointments unless it's asked by the taxpayer. If the property is already tagged for a request for us to call or email the property owner first, we will do that. If the property has gates, whether in the city or rural, we do not open gates and enter. We will leave a door hanger asking for a return call or email. If there is a trespassing sign only, there is a 1987 DOJ opinion that quotes a court case, Hay versus Department of Transportation. It states that an entry pursuant to legislative authority is privileged. There is no specific statutory language for assessment purposes. However, the privilege to enter can be inferred from the assessor's statutory authority in ORS 308-210 and 308-233, 234, and 235. Therefore, we continue onto a property with no trespass signs. However, if asked to leave, we do so immediately. All work is then completed from the road and using any and all records that can be found to assist us in our work, such as aerial photos and community development records.
So question on that one, is Google Earth, for example, a tool?
It is.
And what, are there any specifics, statutory specifics around using aerial views?
No, there isn't.
And
Drones are you?
Well, drones, that would, yes,
That's different.
that's different, yeah. Yeah, but aerial photography that's open to the public, we can use as a tool.
so I thought that was important for people to understand in your explanations of how some of the work is done, that that tool is in place and it's used to help counter what you know that has been applied for, permitted, et cetera.
Yes, and we get a series of photos every couple years to compare to. So we don't get them every year, but we have every couple years. So we can go back and look and see if that structure was there in between a couple of different aerial photos that we have. Finally, I wanted to just touch briefly on legislative issues. I'm calling it our short session, hopes and dreams. We have the veterans exemption that we worked really hard to pass in the last session. We're hoping for a solution in the short session. This agenda item has the best hope of moving forward as we hope to pick up where we left off at the last session. The second bill was our A&T funding bill. We pushed really hard to get something passed in the long session, but we didn't accomplish that goal. So we're going to take the short session to better understand the opposition in hopes to find a means to still accomplish this goal in the next session, which would be the 27 long session. There's just too much to accomplish in too little time during the short session. And that was it.
So A&T funding,
Yes,
and what's that stand for?
assessment and taxation.
Correct.
Yes.
So of the money you collect, what percentage do you keep to operate your office? So you collect $138 million
Right.
property taxes.
Our office,
The tax collector collects the 133
Well, correct.
million,
Right.
and we get on average 14 cents on the dollar.
The county's on.
The county only, including the operating levy. Inside the city, we get less as a percentage. Outside the city, because there are no city taxes, our permanent rate and levy is a bigger portion of their tax bill, so we get more. On average, 14 to 15 cents per thousand or per year tax bill.
And I'll just finish here. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll go later. Go ahead.
well, I think I'm done. That was the last one.
So of that 14% that we keep for our general fund, how much do you have to backfill the assessor's office for what they do mandated by the
So
state?
the A&T funding, which is a combination of both the assessor's office, the tax collection, BOP or whatever it's called now, I still call it
PBAB.
PFAB. And we also collect a portion of support services through IT, and that we show that it's about almost $3 million. We get about $300,000 in CAFA for A&T funding. So we get about 10 cents on the dollar. When it first originated, it was closer to 1/3, 33%, and it's dropped that much over time, just how it works. So that's where you are. Like Valerie said, you have efforts at the legislative to increase that A&T funding. You will never get it to be whole, and I guess you have opposition from every other taxing district that doesn't want to give up their tax money, even though we do all the work to get it for them. That's one-sided coming from the county perspective.
Well, the districts are already giving up a percentage of delinquent interest, but they don't always understand that, and trying to educate them that they're already funding us. It's just not adequate.
Right.
And how do we get sustainable A&T funding? What is the solution? And that's been the challenge, is to partner with the districts and share the recognized need.
That's what I was trying to, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie, for the presentation. Just want to start by saying that your office is one of the top offices I hear positive reviews about in terms of customer service and response and things like that. So I really appreciate that. It makes our jobs much easier up here. So I didn't hear you say anything about compression. I'm just curious if you see any risks in any of our cities or areas about that. And then I have a couple of other questions.
About compression?
Yeah.
We have low compression rates right now. But as the market softens, if it continues to soften and the assessed values continue to grow, we'll see more of it. Depends on how many levies are passed that impact that and what jurisdictions. So we see more compression in education than we do government in our county. But as education is struggling too, and they go out for bonds, that could impact the compression. Yeah.
And then I have a data question, and I want to preface it by saying, I understand that not all of your data systems are equipped to respond to our data requests just on a whim. So with that said, for the real tax rolls, are you able to look at trends for each of the elements, the commercial, industrial, just to look at longitudinal trends over time? I know that's not a perfect assessment of our, business community health or industrial community health, but it'd be interesting to know that if it's easy. I don't want you to create anything new, but it's just a
I
request.
can easily get. It's not a difficult request. So like over the last 10 years, is that
Sure,
the time
sure.
period?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just want to make one final comment on the A&T funding. You're kind of in an interesting spot because your success rate in collecting taxes that get distributed across districts and everybody. This is a county-wide service that everybody enjoys. You have a high success rate, so there are no alarm bells ringing, but that's not necessarily going to last forever, right? We're going to reach a point where we're going to need a little bit of support from our districts to make sure your office is fully capable of doing what it needs to do. So I just want to put that out there that you have my support certainly for that in the next long session, and we'll continue our work there. So.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have to give recognition to Dennis Day, who was the assessor when I was hired, who really set up our office to succeed. He had foresight that has continued throughout the years to help us remain successful. So, you know, I have great predecessors who really set a good foundation that has put us in the position that we're in. So Polk County is very lucky to have had the leaders that they've had over the years.
Thanks.
I asked my questions already, so great job.
Okay.
Appreciate the presentation.
All right. Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
Good
Thanks
job.
for the tax roll document you give us every year too. I keep that nearby to.
Nighttime reading.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a need for an executive session?
No, sir. No, sir.
Is there any other business coming before the board?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none, we're adjourned.